Hello, this is Photography Gamer, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm reviewing Final Fantasy VII Remake for the PS4. Final Fantasy VII Remake is an action role-playing game developed by Square Enix. The game is the first installment of a full reimagining of the original game which was released for the PlayStation in 1997. You play as Cloud, a merc and former soldier who works for a terrorist organisation called Avalanche. Cloud teams up with Barrett, Tifa and several other members of the group to destroy the Shinra Corporation's Marco reactors in the city of Midgar. The reactors are sucking Marco out of the planet, which Barrett believes is causing the planet to die, so it's up to Cloud and his newly found friends to stop Shinra and save the planet. The game also features a wide variety of side missions and quests if the main story gets tiring. So what is the game like to play? Well, it's a classic JRPG with a new and improved real-time combat system. But for the most part, you'll be talking to the locals, doing fetch quests, and going from A to B in as roundabout way as possible most of the time. The combat system is excellent and it lets you move freely around and attack with a 360-degree system. You can switch between Cloud and the other team members during combat, with everyone having different spells, abilities and fighting styles to implement when the situation calls for it. Like if you fight certain enemies, fire spells will be more effective, or ice or lightning, so it pays to understand your enemies rather than just button bashing, but saying that you can button bash and still be fairly effective against the lesser enemies. Each character has a real-time power meter. Once full, you can use a special move, item or spell, assuming you've got enough magic points. It's a fast and tactical system, and honestly, it's one of the best combat systems in any RPG that I've experienced. It strikes the right balance between fast hack and slash action and tactical usage of special moves. The characters level up over time, and you can upgrade your weapons or augment your spell list with materia. Finally, on the combat, you can summon godlike creatures to aid you, and these are beautifully devastating. But what about the game world itself? Well, the action takes place in Midgar, which is a circular city where the haves live on the surface and the have-nots live in the slums below. Both are beautifully imagined and you really feel like you're in a real place. There are lots of NPCs around and you can talk to some of them for side quests, or you can visit shops to purchase items, use vending machines or sit on a bench if you need a bit of rest. You've also got a few side activities like playing darts at the terrorist bar or having a cocktail with Tifa, who is Cloud's long-term love interest. So let's talk about Cloud. Cloud is a very interesting character. He's a super awkward young pretty boy who can handle himself in a fight and has a military background. But when talking to girls, he's a complete mess, and bearing in mind almost every female character throws themselves at him, it leads to some really awkward and hilarious moments. In particular, the massage parlour scene and the cross-dressing mission are absolute comedy gold. But there's more going on with Cloud than you first think. He has these weird flashbacks that don't make sense at first, and he keeps having these visions of Sephiroth, who's a deceased soldier, whose role in the story will become clear later on. The other characters are all well created and they have a good amount of depth to them, although at first some do appear fairly one-dimensional or annoying. But give it time and you will warm to them all eventually. But not everything in this game is perfect. If you've never played the original, you won't know that the Midgar section this game is based on was relatively short in the original. This game has expanded that section a huge amount, and not necessarily for the better. There are several overly long interlude sections or fetch quests that drag on, and in general it feels like the developers went a little bit too far with the additional content. But not everything they've added is bad, far from it, like how the characters have been more fleshed out so you can really identify with them more. That's great. I really loved that stuff. But it's the prolonged sections of nothingness that just start to grate on you after a while, and this does have a negative effect on the overall momentum of the narrative. On the whole, the graphics in this game are incredible. The game looks stunning, the main characters look impeccable with such an abundance of detail. However, some of the game world textures do look a bit blocky at times, and the vast majority of the NPCs look like they're out of a PS3 game. And also the lip syncing, you know, sometimes it's good, sometimes it really isn't very good at all. The sound, it's pretty much what you'd expect from a JRPG. The music is this twee and quite annoying, typical to the genre music. But saying that, mostly it's fine, but you do get the odd one that just makes you want to pull your hair out. The voice acting is excellent and also a festival of cringe at times. But it's a Final Fantasy game and they've always been very camp, very camp, and in regard to the narrative and the characters, it is what you would imagine. But you know, despite some very minor annoyances, the voice acting for the main characters is very good and the actors they've chosen really suit the character's style, but I would say the script writing does leave a little bit to be desired. Okay, what's good and what's bad? What's good? The combat system is excellent and lots of fun. Graphically, it's a stunning experience. It's a very polished product with no bugs or technical issues. The characters are in depth and interesting. There's plenty of gameplay and depth to the experience, and the game is hilarious at times. What's bad? Some of the long interlude sections are littered with annoying and constant dialogue commentary. The terrorist group you work for have some dubious rhetoric, and they don't seem to worry about killing civilians en masse. Some of your team members never stop talking, ever, and the game does take about 6, 7, 8 hours to really get going. So what's the verdict? Final Fantasy VII Remake is a very good game, but it's not a great game. The original was one of the greatest games of all time and it had a perfectly paced narrative throughout. This game, although stunning, exciting and hilarious at times, suffers from one major issue. The developers have tried to flesh out the Midgar section to such a degree that it becomes an overly long and drawn out affair. The overall pacing of the whole story feels a bit too ponderous and padded out to justify releasing the game over several installments. It's a little bit like a director's cut of a movie with every deleted scene included, whether they were conducive to the storytelling or not. But don't get me wrong, it's still a landmark game and one of the best RPGs you can get your hands on right now. But the Midgar section was fairly short in the original for a reason, and extending it in the way that they have feels a little bit forced and unnatural. In the end, this causes quite a few instances of boredom or tedium to take hold. But despite this overarching issue, the game is still a wonderful experience. The combat is fast, tactical and exciting. The characters for the most part are in depth and interesting, even though some of them are incredibly annoying. So it's a good story, excellent combat, great graphics and a slick and polished production, only let down by its pacing and drawn out narrative. But it isn't a game-breaking issue, it's just something that will make you yawn from time to time. So with all that being said, my score for Final Fantasy VII Remake is 8.5 out of 10. Okay, that was the review. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. This is Photography Gamer, signing off. Thank you.